Let's make sure this audio works. Okay. So we are on chapter 3, canto number 2, text number 16. So let me quickly bring it up here. Everything's gonna fall apart. Can you put this Bhagavad Gita away? Thank you. All right, text number 16. We've got it up there already. Great. So, Vaya Shakish. Sorry, before I begin. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay. Vaya Sakish Cha Bhagavan Vasudeva Parayanaha Urugaya Gunodharaha Satam Suyor Hi Samagame. Okay. Vayashakischa Bhagavan Vasudeva Parayanaha Urugaya Gunodhara Daraha Satang Suyurhi Samagame. Vayashakischa Bhagavan Vasudeva Parayanaha Urugaya Gunodharaha Satam Syurhi Samagame. Vayasakischa Bhagavan Vasudeva Parayanaha Urugaya Gunodharaha Satang Syurhi Samagame. Vayasakischa Bhagavan Vasudeva Parayanaha Urugaya Gunodhara Satam Syurhi Samagame.
Vayasakischa Bhagavan Vasudeva Parayanaha Urugaya Gunodhara Satam Syurhi Samagame. Vayasakischa
Bhagavan
Vasudeva Parayanaha
Urugaya Gunodharaha
Satam Syurhi Samagame. Vayasakischa Bhagavan Vasudeva Parayanaha
Urugaya Gunodharaha
Satam Syurhi Samagame.
Mataji's? Vayasakischa Bhagavan Vasudeva Parayanaha Urugaya Gunodhara Satam Syurhi Samagame. Vayasakischa Bhagavan Vasudeva Parayanaha Urugaya Gunodhara Satam Syurhi Samagame. Okay, Vayasakihi, the son of Vyasadev. Cha, also Bhagavan, full in transcendental knowledge. Vasudeva, Lord Krishna. Parayanaha, attached to. Urugaya, of the personality of Godhead Sri Krishna, who is glorified by great philosophers. Gunodaraha, great qualities. Satam, of the devotees. Syuhu, must have been. He, as a matter of fact. Samagame, by the presence of. Okay. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation. Shukadev Goswami, the son of Vyasadeva, was also full in transcendental knowledge. It's bouncing off the walls. Maybe this has to be turned down a little bit. Yeah. Okay. That's better. Okay. Shukadev Goswami, the son of Vyasadeva, was also full in transcendental knowledge and was a great devotee of Lord Krishna, son of Vasudeva. So there must have been discussions of Lord Krishna, who is glorified by great philosophers and in the company of great devotees. Purport. The word satam is very important in this verse. Satam means the pure devotees, who have no other desire than to serve the Lord. Only in the association of such devotees are the transcendental glories of Lord Krishna properly discussed. It is said by the Lord that his topics are all full of spiritual significance. And once one properly hears about him in the association of the Satam, certainly one senses the great potency and so automatically attains the devotional stage of life. As already described, Maharaj Parikshit was a great devotee of the Lord from his very birth, and so was Shukadev Goswami. Both of them were on the same level, although it appeared that Maharaj Parikshit was a great king accustomed to royal facilities, where Shukadev Goswami was a typical renouncer of the world, so much so that he did not even put a cloth on his body. Superficially, Maharaj Parikshit and Shukadev Goswami might seem to be opposites, but basically they were both unalloyed pure devotees of the Lord. When such devotees are assembled together, there can be no topics save discussions of the glories of the Lord or Bhakti Yoga. In Bhagavad Gita also, when there were talks between the Lord and his devotee Arjuna, there could not be any topic other than Bhakti Yoga. However, the mundane scholars may speculate on it in their own ways. The use of word cha after Vayas Chakhihi suggests, according to Srila Jiva Goswami, that both Shukadev Goswami and Maharaj Parikshit were of the same category, settled long before, although one was playing in the part of a master and the other was disciple. Since Lord Krishna is the center of the topic, the word Vasudeva Parayanaha, or devotee of Vasudeva, suggests devotee of Lord Krishna, the common aim. Although there were many others who assembled at the place where Maharaj Parikshit was fasting, the natural conclusion is that there was no other topic other than glorification of Lord Krishna. Because the principal speaker was Shukadev Goswami and the chief audience was Maharaj Parikshit. So Srimad Bhagavatam, as it was spoken and heard by two principal devotees of the Lord, is only for the glorification of the Supreme Lord, the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. Om Jnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmitamena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah Shri Chaitanya Manovishtam Stapitamena Bhutale Swayam Rupakadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagna Raghunatam Vitam Tamsijam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savaditam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagna Lalita Shri Vijakan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Vande Jagatpati Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namustati Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishavanusute Devi Pranamami Panchakalpatarvesha Kripasindhibhyavicha Patitanam Pavinibhya Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhakti Bhakti Vikasa Samitare Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhakti Vedanta Samitare Namaste Saraswate Devi Guruvani Prasharni Devi Shinivadi Paschatya Desitaya Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Dvaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jnanananda Mayam Devam Nilmash Pratikakridam Adharam Sarva Vidyanam Hayagripam Upasmahe. Could you put my phone on Do Not Disturb? Forgot to do that.
The live is going on.
You know how to do it, right? Okay, so very important topics of the Srimad Bhagavatam, and it's being discussed here. And what's the beautiful thing about it is that this is the goal of life here, and so our life is set up in such a way that this is the center of what we do and how we function. This hearing of the Srimad Bhagavatam is the most important aspect. The chanting and hearing is the most important aspects of our devotional service. So you see in the morning, this is the first thing that's been instituted, that we glorify the spiritual master, we chant our rounds, and then we hear the Srimad Bhagavatam. So this is the process, this is the anga of bhakti, is to hear the Srimad Bhagavatam, to hear Shastra. And so here we see the qualification of hearing Shastra and the who one should hear Shastra from. And so Prabhupada in the purport here particularly emphasizes this word satam. This word he mentions means pure. Satya, that word satya is there, which means pure. So this satam, it refers to the pure devotees who are practicing devotional service. So we see this particularly in the first canto quite a few times. You probably know the first one. The word satam, that comes. Nirmat saranam satam. So dharma prahijita kaitavutra paramanit satam. Vedya vastam atra vastu shivadam tapatrayan mulanam. Srimad Bhagavate Mahamuni krite kim va paray ishvara. Sadyo hride avarudhyate tra kritibhi shushruvish tat shushrushruvish tat shanat. I'm horrible with that. So we see this word satam. What does it mean? It's completely rejecting all religious activities which are materially motivated. This Bhagavad Purana propounds the highest truth, which is understandable by those devotees who are fully pure in the heart. The highest truth is reality distinguishing from illusion for the welfare of all. Such truth uproots the threefold miseries. This beautiful Bhagavatam, compiled by great sages Vyasadeva, in its maturity is sufficient in itself for God realization. What is the need for any other scripture? As soon as one attentively and submissively hears the message of the Bhagavatam, by this culture of knowledge, the Supreme Lord is established within his heart. So a few qualifications are given in order to establish the Lord within the heart, in order to see the Lord in the heart. This chapter in itself is called Pure Devotional Service, the Change in Heart. So one has to try to endeavor for the platform of pure devotional service. And that is the qualification that's given here, that, we're not on the platform of pure devotional service, but often you'll see this pure devotees in the making. You might have heard of this lecture in Salem that Guru Maharaj gives. And so he'll mention there that these are just like unripe mangoes that are waiting to be ripened. They're just in the process of becoming pure devotees. They're mangoes nonetheless. So we see here that the qualifications given is that one completely rejects dharma, artha, kama, moksha, this ideas of liberation, earning money, economic development. What did I not mention? Sense gratification, economic development, liberation, and what's the dharma? So religious activities. Dharma, artha, kama, moksha. So these, although they are part of civilization, a part of the Vedic civilization, and for a pure one who wants to come to the platform of pure devotion service, he even rejects such things. On the platform of understanding this paramo nirmatsaranam satam, that actually higher than this is to endeavor without material desire. Prabhupada says in this verse we are reading in the Bhagavad Gita yesterday, it mentions in the end here that the devotee, he has no material desire of his own. He doesn't even desire liberation for himself. 270, he says like that at the end, that he simply just desires devotional service. That's all. So the Bhagavatam here gives that qualification. What is that? That one should, as soon as one attentively and submissively, same idea comes in the Bhagavad Gita, that one approaches a spiritual master. I keep forgetting how it starts. Tadvidi pranipatina pariprashnena sevaya upadekshanti tiya jnanam jnaninam tattvadarshina. Same idea comes in the Bhagavad Gita, and you'll see this pretty much, that's the process of gaining jnana and vijnana, wisdom also, that the spiritual master endows upon you this wisdom also. So we see that this attentive and submissive hearing of the Srimad Bhagavatam is the most important. And by hearing, we develop this anya bilasita sunyam jnana karma dhyanavritam anukulena krishnanu shilanam bhaktir uttama. We develop anya bilasita sunyam. We develop a pure motive, because the heart becomes cleansed by hearing such thing. And then, so the verse for that we see later on in the second chapter. Shrinvatam swakatha Krishna punya shravana kirtana hridayantasto hi abhidhrani vidunoti suhit satam. Sri Krishna, the Supreme, the personality of Godhead, who is the Paramatma in everyone's heart and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, cleanses desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee who has developed the urge to hear his message, which are themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. Very important to note, properly heard and chanted. This again, emphasizing attentive hearing and that desire for continually to also chant also, to hear properly and then also give that knowledge also. So this is the position of a devotee, and it's really amazing. The personality who's the Paramatma is in everyone's heart and the benefactor of the truthful devotee cleanses desire for material enjoyment. So the truthful devotee, who is not some duplicitous person that puts up some fake form of devotional service, externally showing himself to be some great person. He can give nice classes, and he wears his tilak really nicely, he plays the mridanga really nicely, he cooks really nicely, he sings really nicely, he can talk really sweet words to the devotees. But within his heart, he's cultivating material desire. Because one thing is somebody, there's often this said, at least he's honest. Somebody cannot be able to, he may not be able to follow the principles of devotional service, but at least he's honest. He'll come up and tell you straight up to your face, yeah, I'm not able to do it. I'm trying, and I'm here and I'm performing the process, but I'm not there yet. But he understands that he's a nonsense guy. He's truthful. That is one of the qualifications in order to take up devotion, that he is truthful to himself and to the other devotees of the Lord. That he doesn't put up some image of being some great Vaishnava. Actually, the position of a Vaishnava is that he sees himself as the lowest, as the most unqualified person in this world. He's naturally humble like that, like we're reading about Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He's the spiritual master. He's, in one lecture, Guru Maharaj mentioned that he brought back the pure holy name into this world again. He's on that platform of doing such things. But he himself is feeling to be so humble that he has to, he takes commission from his, was this told to anyone else? Did we discuss this openly, or was this kind of just between us? I think during Prashadam. So I don't know if you are hearing the Nityananda Prabhu Appearance Days lecture, and we're discussing Bhaktivinoda Thakur, how he gets commission from his, he's the street sweeper. He's the street sweeper of the marketplace of the holy name. And when the devotee comes, he says, I'll take you to Lord Nityananda and I'll take my commission. And so, I think Kalki Prabhu found a lecture of Guru Maharaj where he mentions that.
It's on the radio, so we don't actually know what lecture it was.
Oh God, okay.
That's
That's amazing.
We heard it, he heard it too.
So, he mentions that Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he's feeling that yes, this disciple will come and I'll take prema from him. Is that right? That's what he said exactly. That
Once you get,
Your
once you
share,
get, yeah, once you get pure devotion,
I'll take that from you.
I'll take a portion.
I'll take a portion of the pure devotion you get. He feels himself to be so fallen that I need the help of my disciple. This person who's so fallen, he's coming, I'll take him to Lord Nityananda. And then from that person who's fallen, he'll get elevated, and then I'll take that mercy from him. Of course, that's not his position. His real position is that of the Acharya, who is actually taking us and teaching us the platform of pure devotional service. So a devotee is naturally humble. He naturally feels as though that he's not on that platform of pure devotional service. He is truthful. So the Supreme Personality of Godhead, for such a devotee who is truthful, who is sincere in his practice, who has developed the desire to hear the message of Krishna, then the Lord enters within his heart and he starts to cleanse the heart of this material contamination, which is identification with this body. This false identification with this home, this body, this community, this family, this country. And so that is only done by hearing. That is only done by hearing. That is done by hearing from the pure devotee, not from some mundane scholars we'll see here in the verse that we're discussing, that is also glorified by great philosophers. Yes, the Lord is glorified by great philosophers. But the message of the Bhagavatam, the message of the Lord must be heard from the pure devotee. Because why? Why should it be heard from the pure devotees? Because Krishna is present there. And so just like we hear in the 10th canto of the gopis, they describe a few prayers and they say, Krishna, you're a great thief. You've entered through my ears into my heart and you've stolen our minds and our hearts. So Krishna enters through the ears of the devotee or the so-called non-devotee. And when that pure holy name or that pure message of the Bhagavatam is heard, then the heart is cleansed because the Lord is, of course, He's already there, but that process of cleansing it begins. That natural attraction or that urges to hear that message is developed. And so that is awakened by that pure name that's given by the devotee. So we see in the second canto also again, in second chapter 37, those who drink through oral reception, fully filled with nectarian message of Lord Krishna, the beloved of the devotees, purify the polluted aim of life known as material enjoyment. This is 2.237. Yep. Purify the polluted aim of material enjoyment and thus go back to Godhead, to the lotus feet of Him, the personality of Godhead. So, this is through oral reception. Everything begins by this process, by hearing about the Lord. And this process specifically, it rekindles that fire of devotion, but more than that, it awakens our transcendental consciousness. It awakens our transcendental love towards the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the beloved of the devotees. Fully filled with the nectarian message of Lord Krishna. And so what's amazing is if you go to the purport, I would like to begin where it says, there is no need of machines and tools. There you go. So there is no need of machines and tools or huge steel plants for artificially creating comforts of life. Life is never made comfortable by artificial need, but by plain living and high thinking. The highest perfection, thinking of human society is suggested here by Shukadeva Goswami, namely sufficient hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. For men in this age of Kali, when they have lost the perfect vision of life, this Srimad Bhagavatam is the torchlight by which to see the real path. Srila Jiva Goswami Prabhupada has commented on the Katamritam mentioned in this verse and has indicated Srimad Bhagavatam to be the nectarian message of the personality of Godhead. By sufficient hearing of Srimad Bhagavatam, the polluted aim of life, namely lording it over matter, will subside, and the people in general, in all parts of the world, will be able to live in a peaceful life of knowledge and bliss. For a pure devotee of the Lord, any topics in relation with his name, fame, quality, entourage, etc. are all pleasing, and because of such topics, having been approved by Narada, Hanuman, Nanda Maharaj, and other inhabitants of Vrindavan, certainly such messages are transcendental and pleasing to the heart and soul. So we can see the emphasis of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Why is Srila Prabhupada emphasizing the Bhagavatam? Why is he working day and night, day and night, day and night? Because this is the message. Just by hearing this from a pure devotee. And actually the reading the Bhagavatam and the reading those purports is actually hearing in itself. It's another form of hearing. So, just by hearing this Bhagavatam, and Shukadeva Goswami, it's suggested here by Shukadeva Goswami, sufficient hearing of the Bhagavatam. The highest perfection of thinking for humanity is suggested here. This is not some concoction that this is some religious book, so we'll promote it. Because it's just religious, it's just that's what you do. Because it's my religion, because it's from my country, it's from India, so India is the greatest of all. That's not why we promote the Bhagavatam. We promote the Bhagavatam because it has the ability to completely purify a person who has lost the vision in this dense darkness of material existence. And so Prabhupada says this, he says that when they have lost their perfect vision of life, they're completely illusioned. Illusioned by this Baid Arthamanina, this attachment to the externals of this material world. And so Prabhupada says that this Srimad Bhagavatam is the torchlight by which to see the real path. One is able to see where he is going. Right now, Nagati Kutopi, that that nobody understands what is next, where to go next, where they are going next. But the Srimad Bhagavatam, it paves the real path. And actually in that second line of this purport, Prabhupada is mentioning that Sri Krishna is mentioning that by knowing him, that one will be able to come to the platform of pure devotion of service. Janma karma chame dibam evam yavati tatvataha tyakta deham punar janma nayati mameti suarjuna. So one will be able to, by knowing the janma karma, the birth and the pastimes of the Lord, one will be able to come to the platform of pure devotion service, and he'll attain that realm by which he never returns. So the Bhagavatam, the platform of the Bhagavatam that we want to come to is that Vasudeva para Veda, Vasudeva para Makaha, Vasudeva para Yoga, Vasudeva para Kriyaha, Vasudeva param Jnanam, Vasudeva param Tapaha, Vasudeva paro Dharmo, Vasudeva para Gatihi. That in the review scriptures, the ultimate object of knowledge is Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead. The purpose of performing sacrifices is to please Him. Yoga is for realizing Him. All fruitive activities are ultimately rewarded by Him only. He is the supreme knowledge, and all severe austerities are performed to know Him. Religion is rendering service unto Him. He is the supreme goal of life. Sarvasya chaham hridishini vishto matasmriti jnanam apohanam cha vedaischa sarvair ahameva vedyo vedantakrit vedavid eva chaham. By all the Vedas, I am to be known. So this is the goal of life, and that is what the pure devotees discuss. They don't come together and discuss what was the latest thing that I did yesterday, and I ate this and I ate that. You may do that in relationship without, Krishna must have enjoyed in this particular way, but we don't really. Pure devotees, when pure devotees get together, you'll never see them discussing anything really outside the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Just like we see Vidura when he approaches, not Maitreya, Uddhava. Uddhava he is in that state of transcendence. His consciousness is completely in the platform of engaging in pure devotional service. He's performing, he's sitting still, of course, but he is completely absorbed in his mind, in his intelligence, in his consciousness, in serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And so when he's approached by Vidura, immediately there's no question of anything else but discussing the pastimes, the name, form, entourage. He immediately asks, how is your family? How is this person? How is this person doing? Why is he asking such things? Because they're in relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There's no question of a separatist idea. The Bhagavatam defines the three classes of devotees: the neophyte, the intermediate, the madhyamadhikari, and then the uttamadhikari. Or actually, Kapila Dev, he goes over the devotees in mode of ignorance, devotees in mode of passion, devotees in mode of goodness, and the devotees in the transcendental platform. So the devotees on the transcendental platform, there is no idea of being separate. For the neophyte, there is this separatist idea: here's Krishna's and here's mine. When I perform deity service, this is Krishna's time, but when I'm on my own in the back in my room, then that's my own time. I can do whatever I like. Then I can try to enjoy life. So, a pure devotee, just like my personal experience, walking into a room and sitting, and all these devotees have come to approach, to go and see this, to see the spiritual master, to see Guru Maharaj in the Tulsi, which is the Tulsi Ashram. He was sitting in that room, and so he went in there, and immediately he started. So who is Advaita Acharya?
Who's Adigadar?
Sorry, Adi Gadadhar. And in a whole discussion that is like very topics that are very elevated, he started discussing all these amazing things, and you could see it wasn't something that it was artificial. It was invoked with spontaneously. It was there. That means that person, he's always contemplating upon these things. He's always contemplating upon the pastimes of the Lord. He's always thinking. He's always acting on that platform. But for us, the pure devotee, he can take something mundane and turn it into something transcendental also. But for us, we may be discussing the pastimes of the Lord sometimes, and then one word comes up that reminds us of our past material life, and then the whole conversation ends up being about all the different movies we watched and how we try to enjoy life, and you start to forget about Krishna slowly more and more. And at the end of it, you're looking at each other, and you sit there. If you think a little bit, you go, "Dang, like what happened?" Every time it's like that. It's like, what happened? Like, how did we, stray away from this discussion that was taking of Krishna into talking about what football games I used to watch? So if we're truthful to ourselves, we can understand that we don't have so much desire to hear attentively and submissively. Because if it was so, over the years of performing devotional service, we would see that naturally it just doesn't go there to talk about these things. That naturally doesn't go there. A pure devotee naturally doesn't. He will just completely reject it immediately. So we can understand that desire to hear and even be submissive often may be tainted with some alternative motive. Because one can hear attentively, but he can also hear attentively the Srimad Bhagavatam for the purpose of glorifying himself on the ultimate platform, that I'll become some great speaker by hearing this. So yes, hearing the Bhagavatam attentively and submissively, but if the motive is that I will take this Srimad Bhagavatam and I will become a great speaker of the Srimad Bhagavatam, then it's again absolutely useless. Then that process of purification will not take place properly. This anartha nivriti, the stage of taking this unwanted things within the heart out, will not be, will not happen as we desire it to be, or it won't happen as fast we desire it to be. We don't have so long in life we actually, it's very short to try to come to the platform of pure devotional service. There's not so much time. Prabhupada says you can do it in 1 moment, 1 second. Why 1 lifetime? He says 1 moment you can surrender it on to Krishna. But it's very difficult. It's very difficult that because we have our own hang-ups. We're meant to be nirmamo nirahankara, nirashayir nirmamo. Without material motive, without me, myself and I, without a desire for my own. But we have that's the inherent nature that the soul has taken on in his journey of material existence. He's taken on that idea of me, myself, and I am the center. So even when we're hearing and chanting, we have to be careful of that desire. We have to recognize it and try to purify that desire by service unto those pure devotees. By service unto those pure devotees. By gaining taste for service. By seeing how by becoming a servant, that actually is the ultimate goal of life. Not to become some great speaker of the Bhagavatam. That naturally happens if one is a great devotee. Just like Srila Prabhupada, he didn't study to become a great speaker of the Srimad Bhagavatam. All these devotees we hear in the Bhagavatam, they didn't go to some courses to learn how to speak the Srimad Bhagavatam. Naturally, it was there within the heart. Just like if you talk to some devotees, whether they're who are on that platform of pure devotional service, whether they're young like Shukadeva Goswami or they're much older like Vyasadeva, naturally they're inclined towards this discussing the pastimes of the Lord without a level of recognition. They will shy away from such recognition. They won't desire to put themselves in such a position unless it's, of course, for the for the service of the Lord. They're willing to do anything for the service of the Lord. But that anartha is purified beforehand by hearing from the pure devotee. Just like we see so many devotees, there may be so many sannyasis that speak so many things. And amongst their association, you can see clearly that the material desire within the heart is not rooted out. That it's actually fanned. And let the lust which is within the heart, which burns like fire, let it burn more and more. And so we see so many nice kirtaniers with long hair and beautiful voices and the woman sitting right next to you, looking at you, playing a mridanga as she plays. What happens when a woman is generally engaged in that? The body of a woman is, built in such a way that is, naturally invokes lust into the man. And the devotees that are there, so-called devotees or the so-called leaders who are meant to be on the platform of Shukadeva Goswami and Vyasadeva instructing like this, they approve of that. So nothing, no purification takes place. But then you can also see the contrary. Some of those devotees in our movement, like who are amazing, like Prahladananda Maharaj, who are Guru Maharaj. There's so many other devotees who are there's Janananda Maharaj, Mukunda Datta Prabhu. In the association of devotees, you won't really see such nonsense go on. It's not approved. And those devotees, those who are full of material desire, they won't come around these devotees as well. Because they know that they're not going to approve. It's like, why do you have long hair? Why do you have your beard? At this Prabhupada disciple, he was here, I forget his name. Baushira Prabhu, he's such an amazing devotee. He gave the class on the 10 offenses when he was here. And he said, Prabhupada says that this beard, that you keep long beard, is like pubic hair on the face. And he said that in the lectures, like, so I see, oh my God, brothers, keeping all this, and I'm so happy that in this camp that you've not allowed that at all. And there was a few people in the crowd who had like a beard. So you can see that also in such association that desire for material, that material desire, this attachment to this body is completely is shut down. So the pure devotees, they naturally they want to have such an association, have such a company which is surrounded by pure devotees, not by some material desire. Just like Bhaktivinoda Thakur prays for that. He says, I pray to have that association of devotees who are renounced from their material life, who are in this platform nirashaya nirmamo, who are not attached to their material, who want to perform devotional service, who want to come to the platform of pure devotional service. I desire that association. Not that association of those devotees who are okay with the material desire but want to chant their few rounds here and there. This is not what we want. So we see great devotees like Shukadeva Goswami and Maharaj Parikshit. What is their qualification? They don't think about themselves at all. They have no nirankara, this false ego. Although one is a king and one is a sannyasi, he is actually more, what is he? He's an avadut. He roams around naked. So it's very other, extreme spectrums. One is a complete renunciate. He doesn't care for a fig. He doesn't give a damn at all about what he does. He just goes on. He's completely absorbed. And then we have a king who's completely absorbed in so-called material life. He has to arrange for so many things. He has to have so much gold. But we understand that such devotional service is not dependent on a material situation. That it has nothing to do with one's material situation. Sure, there is more favorable, unfavorable, but we see Maharaj Parikshit, we see Maharaj Pratapa Rudra. Everybody knows who Maharaj Pratapa Rudra is. You don't know who he is? You don't know who he is? You don't know who he is? Huh? No, Sisi, Pratapa, I was like, in Bhagavatam. Yeah, it's okay. So, Pratapa Rudra Maharaj, he's a king of Odisha. Is that right? So, he's a king and he wants to meet Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Everybody probably kind of heard of this now. He wants to meet Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is like, no way. Because a sannyasi is never meant to meet with a king. He's never meant to. He's not actually a sannyasi. He's not allowed to be in the association of women and those who are attached to money and women. But generally a king is generally attached to money and women, or politicians. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he doesn't want his association, but people like Ramananda Roy and all his really elevated disciples are pushing him. And he says, if you keep pushing this, I'm going to just leave. And so they come up with a plan. Actually, Pratapa Rudra Maharaj, he doesn't know what to do because actually even his son gets that association. Everybody's read Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, right? In Guru Maharaj's book, you got to read it. You haven't read it? Have you read Teachings of Lord Chaitanya? Oh my God, you have to read, otherwise what are you doing? This is the movement of Lord Chaitanya. You have to understand what his pastimes are. At least read, that book you can finish in 2 days. The Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Teachings of Lord Chaitanya, how long did it take you? You finished Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? Teachings of Lord Chaitanya, dude. 3 weeks. 3 weeks if you read an hour a day. So you should read these books. So you've started reading Bhagavatam. No, you have to read these first. You have to read Science of Self-Realization, Bhagavad Gita, Nectar of Devotion, Nectar of Instructions comes before. After Science of Self-Realization. You have to read Nectar of Devotion, Krishna book, Ishopanishad is there, and then you can go to the Bhagavatam. This is like the progress of reading. Otherwise, you won't know what the movement is. Because the Bhagavatam, the Bhagavatam is going to give you the essence of the philosophy, but you don't know who Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is, you don't know who Krishna is, and you don't know what is the process which Rupa Goswami gives, because we're Rupanugas ultimately. We're the followers of Rupa Goswami. So then we understand from Nectar of Devotion what that is. After reading Krishna book, you can read Nectar of Devotion. Actually, you can read Krishna book, Krishna book, Teachings of Lord Chaitanya, and then Nectar Devotion. So this is, anybody that comes into devotional service, this should be a systematic way of reading. I didn't do that, and I had a lot of troubles just not understanding a lot of pastimes that are there in the Krishna book. You read Krishna book? No, oh my God, you have to read Krishna book. That's why Prabhupada gave us, specifically for that reason, because we're Krishna consciousness, but we don't know who Krishna is. It's like, what are you doing? So we can understand Bhagavad Gita, yes, that's important for devotees, but specifically this Krishna book in this Gaudiya Vaishnava tradition is so important. This Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, this nectar devotion. Prabhupada specifically wanted us to start that study. And then Bhagavatam comes after all these things, once we understand, okay, what we're about, because we're studying these books, and then somebody asks us a question, we don't know anything, then we're in trouble. So, and for us also, when we ourselves get in trouble, we can at least contemplate upon the things we've read and what we're doing and why we're doing it. We can, instead of getting mental about things, we can try to be a little bit intelligent and see how, by reading and by going back to those understandings that we've gotten, how to purify that or overcome that mental hurdle that's coming in the way. So it's very important to read these books. Anyways, Maharaj Prataparudra, he is a king, and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu doesn't want to meet him. He actually even meets his son. So, although he's satisfied by that a little bit, but he's not completely satisfied by that. And then so, what he does is, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, what he's most pleased by, what is he most pleased by? Yeah, sure, but from the devotee.
Austerity.
No. Sure. Surrender. Actually, humility. Dainya Atma Nivedana. That's the first thing that Bhakti Vinod Thakur does. Dainya, humility. I submit myself unto you with all humility, my Lord. So Prataparudra Maharaj, he exhibits a very high level of humility. He starts sweeping, and he doesn't come in his dress of a king. He comes in the dress of a mendicant. For a king to take that position, it's quite difficult. And then so, as a result, what does he get? Okay, but what does he get to do? He massages his feet and he gets to sing. I think he does the Gopi Geet. Yeah. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu goes into complete ecstasy. So that humility of the devotee, it invokes that. So we can see someone like Parikshit Maharaj. He's very humble. He could have, often Prabhupada said, he could have counteracted this curse. He could have just, dealt with it. But he was humble. He saw it as the mercy of the Supreme Personality of God. That means that all along, he was actually pure. Just like Bali Maharaj. He was just waiting. Bali Maharaj is just waiting. He's the king of the demons, and he's conquering the demigods and doing all these things. He's doing his duty as a demon, but he's waiting within his heart to surrender unto the Supreme Personality of God. So, externally, and then there's also another pastime in the Chaitanya Charitamrita that comes. There's a king, and who is it? Is it Advaita Acharya that approaches him? But doesn't want to approach him because he thinks he's some worldly king, but as soon as he... Gadadhar Pandit? Huh? Oh, and then he accepts him as his spiritual master, you're right. So he thinks he's some materialist, and how can I go and associate with him? But then he goes and he's reciting, I think, either a pastime where he just says the word Krishna, and the king goes into complete ecstasy. And so he realizes this. So, many times proving that it's not material qualification. It's not that if you're very rich, you're some materialist and you can't be a devotee of the Lord, but one can be. There may be more hindrances in that. But one can come to that platform. And when that time comes, when the Lord presents that opportunity, that devotee, he's already surrendered within his heart, but then he exhibits that surrender. Whereas people like Shukadeva Goswami, who is a brahmachari, who is a renunciate, he could exhibit that from the beginning. He didn't have duty to perform. He didn't have duty. His only thing was, okay, I'm absorbed in the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I'm absorbed in the pastimes of the Lord. So externally, it seems he is very advanced, which he is. So he is able to exhibit that. But for someone like Maharaj Parikshit, that exhibition of renunciation may not be there because, he has to do his duty. But when that time comes, then easily they give it up like just one, like Rishabh Dev describes, just like one passes stool. He gives it up. Sorry, excuse me. So just like one passes stool, he completely gives up his material desire, his material situation, and he's able to completely be satisfied in hearing the pastimes of the Lord. And he doesn't need anything else. If the materialist, if we gave them an opportunity to come, we'll provide, actually Prabhupada's in this other purport we are reading in the second chapter of text 37, he's describing that the Lord provides all material necessities if one is fixed. So we'll say, okay, we'll provide all your material necessities. Come and surrender to the Supreme Personality. Get it. Just hear the message of the Bhagavatam. Chant the holy names of the Lord. Honor prasadam. Go out and distribute this knowledge. We'll take care of everything. You're suffering so much. They'll say, there's no possible way. Even they may give up their material situation because, this may be a better material situation for them. But there is no way they'll be able to just sit and hear the pastimes of the Lord. Because they're so fixed on trying to enjoy materially. So even those devotees who are within the ashram, but in their hearts they want to enjoy the facilities of Krishna consciousness, that purification will also never take place. And it will be seen in time that actually not much advancement is being made. Everything will come out. Because the anartha, that thing which is unwanted, you don't want to give it up. So you have to follow that. You'll be taken by that, and anartha means it'll take you out of devotional service. And we've seen that time and time again. So one has to be careful that he when he's situated in Krishna consciousness, he's absorbed, trying to absorb himself. Yes, it's difficult. We all have our troubles, not that we're all pure. We all have our own little things that we know ourselves that we do wrong. And then there's other things that other devotees may advise us in. And that's one platform. But more than that is we know ourselves what we're doing wrong. If we've read the books, we know what's wrong and what's right. We're not complete. I hope we're not completely demoniac to not be able to distinguish between right and wrong. We know what we're doing wrong. We know what we're doing right. We know what we have to do. And it may be difficult because a habit, once a habit forms, it's difficult to give it up. But one endeavors to do that. One tries to do that. One doesn't become comfortable in the situation in Krishna consciousness. He's always trying to see how to serve in every moment. And service also means one takes care of his own body also. Not that one burns himself out, burns the body out. But one is seeing how to perform devotional service and how to take away this desire for personal sense gratification, name, fame. And more than just material desire, that desire for name, fame within devotional service is described. I don't know who's in this Bhakti Vikas email where there's like a lot of discussions happen. You're in that. So recently there was this text out from Madhurya Kadimbini, which is a book from Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. And so in that he discusses some aspects of anarthas. Sorry, I'm trying to bring up this chart. Pretty low quality. So in this chart, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur discusses some of the anarthas that we have. And there's like partial removal of the anarthas. There's pervasive, there's almost complete, and absolute. And so, of the four anarthas which arise from sinful activity, pious activities, from offense, and then so those are anarthas that are coming from material life, and then anarthas that are coming from practicing devotional service are offenses to the holy name and desire for wealth, worship, fame, and such, all these things. And so, the only thing that remains up until the last moment, more or less, is this, this desire coming from bhakti. is there, even after the stage of ruchi, of getting taste. That desire, that actually with devotion service it comes. Like, we hear from, I forget which Acharya. I believe it's not Baladev Vidyabhushan. It's, I forget what his name is. I apologize. But particularly says that when I perform devotion service, bhukti, mukti, siddhi, kami, all these things are at my door waiting to serve me. Is it Vishwanath? I don't know if it's Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. That's Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur? Okay. I thought it was someone else. So he says like this. So when we perform devotion service, proper devotion service, all these things come: name, fame, adoration, distinction. Within bhakti, oh, you're such a great devotee, oh, you perform devotion service so nicely, oh, you speak so nicely, oh, you do kirtan so nicely. Why don't you come and do kirtan at my kirtan mela? Why don't you come and speak at my Bhagavad Sapta? So all these things come, and so they're hard to get rid of. But with the pure devotees of the Lord, like Shikadeva Goswami and Maharaj Parikshit, there's no such things. There's not a question of that. They're completely absorbed. So much so that Maharaj Parikshit doesn't eat for 7 days straight. He's completely forgotten about the body, completely absorbed on that transcendental platform. So although difference is seen, sometimes that one is a great materialist and the other is a renunciate, actually they're on the same platform. They're on the same platform of spontaneous devotional service. And they're both very eager to hear the pastimes of the Lord. So we can propagate this, and we ourselves can endeavor to become pure devotees in a sense of trying to benefit the whole world. And so we're trying to follow this path of pure devotion service so we can adhere to the rules and regulations. Prabhupada often says we should become a pure devotee of the rules and regulations of devotion service. By doing such, so we can rise above the contaminations that we're taking on and consistently trying to remove. So in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, this particularly is emphasized, and even within Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, actually he defines this as the Bhakti Lata Bija, which is the tree of devotional service. And so you'll see many different stages within that devotional service, and the trunk of that tree is actually, anybody know what that is? What is the trunk of the tree of Bhakti, the Bhakti Lata Bij, the tree? Sadhu Sangha. Association of devotees. That is the trunk. That is what keeps the creeper, straight and moving to the path back to Godhead. And we can understand easily from the Chaitanya Charitamrita that it says that when one, does anybody know the verse?
Krishna Bhakti Janma Mula Hoy Sadhu Sangha.
Oh, good. And then?
Krishna Prema Janma.
Yeah, I forget it too. Good. So that the root cause of devotion service is the association of devotees. And even when one attains prema, love of Godhead, the most prominent aspect of devotion service is still the association of devotees. So they will help us remove these anarthas, like we're saying, by hearing that pure name. And they'll also point out our faults and our issues. And so it's very important to keep in that association. Just like we'll never see the Srimad Bhagavatam being recited just without anybody there. We'll never see a discussion of the Lord, somebody just speaking just in the middle of nowhere for no reason. We'll always see two devotees come together and relish those pastimes. So we ourselves can endeavor to become a pure devotee who is able to help in that regard of helping so many others, helping ourselves and helping others also. So in that way, we'll be able to give that torchlight of knowledge that Srila Prabhupada is speaking about in this Srimad Bhagavatam. Not only do we speak about it, but we also practice it. If you hear this, did anybody hear this? Everybody else? I think it was that if you go to the Salem page, you can hear these 3 lectures by Mukunda Datta Prabhu. Very important, very amazing. Advaita Acharya's appearance day. There is lecture on Brahminical initiation, and then there is just a lecture on Lord Chaitanya. All really important to hear, just like Really amazing. And one is 2 hours, the other one is an hour and a half, and the one is only half an hour. But he mentions in one of those lectures, I think it might be the Brahminical lectures that, or maybe the Advaita Acharya lectures, that in LA, the descriptions, the chapter of the Bhagavatam was Varnashram Dharma, and the sannyasi that was speaking spoke nothing about Varnashram Dharma. The chapter was Varnashram Dharma, the verse was Varnashram Dharma, the purport was Varnashram Dharma, and the sannyasi didn't speak about it at all. And so one of the book distributors, who was a seasoned book distributor, he's been distributing books for 30 years, asked the question, asked Maharaj, the verse is talking about Varnashram, why haven't you even touched upon it? It's like, would you be able to just tell us some things about that in a very humble way? This devotee is a humble devotee. So, but the sannyasi just said, no, we don't have to worry about that, we just have to preach. But then he made the point, the book distributor made the point, I've given these books to so many people, and I've met them again, and they really love the books, they really love it. And I asked him, why don't you come and join us? He said, well, we went to your temple, we saw your temple, but what you've written in your books and the things you practice are completely different. So we're talking about the standard of devotional service, but we should also practice it and show it, because we're distributing these books. We'll just become hypocrites otherwise. Hypocrites. I can't say that word properly. So we should endeavor to practice that, establish those things that Srila Prabhupada is speaking about, ourselves be a representation of Srila Prabhupada's words, and so that we're not criticized in this way. Criticism will always be there, but try our best to practice that. Not they come to the temple, they've heard about the 4 regulative principles, and then one to say, yeah, you can follow 3, and just don't break all 4 at once. You can break 1 at a time, that's fine. We've seen that also. I follow 3 of the 4. So one should be careful. And so just like Maharaj Parikshit and Sukadeva Goswami are on that platform, we should try to endeavor to come to that platform just by hearing, by discussing these pastimes. But to discuss, one has to hear properly. Otherwise, what will we discuss? So we can go on without hearing nicely, then we'll never have so much trouble in devotion service. If we stop our hearing so nicely, there will always be troubles. There will always we'll always get mental in devotion service. So this is the key. This is the way of advancing in devotion service, to hear from pure devotees. Okay, so I'll end my class there. We've got about 10 minutes for questions and comments.
So it was Bilvamangala Thakur who said, liberation comes as my maidservant.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I just want to clarify. So you touched briefly on devotees like Shukadev Goswami, Maharaj Parikshit, how their duties were separate. Shukadev Goswami was a renunciate, Maharaj Parikshit was a ruler, but they're actually on the same level of pure devotion.
Yep.
So just about, and then you mentioned Bali Maharaj, how he acted in his duty, but in his heart he was waiting for the moment to surrender to Krishna. Yeah. So I was just wondering, there's the instance of the 4 Kumaras, who they had their duty to be the progenitors of mankind, the first sons of Brahma, but they decided to completely abandon that duty and completely surrender and become renounced. So I was just wondering, I don't know.
How does that work? Yeah. Well, if you see Narada Muni, what he says that if one surrenders to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then you're completely free of debt. You're free of duty, to a great sense. And if you examine the Kumaras, right, these guys, no sex desire. They just take children for their whole life. Little kids. They're really cute if you look at the picture of this. And so you can see that they were ready for that. They're ready to renounce. But then we'll see exhibitions of Bali Maharaj and Parikshit Maharaj. They're performing a pastime in order to also give an example. Lead by example, Krishna says. He says, whatever a great man does, common men follow. Right? So Krishna says, he himself says, therefore I must act out of duty. I also must act out of duty. I have to. So in order to show the populace that, that, because it is true, if everyone could give up everything and completely surrender to Krishna and everyone go back home to Godhead, that's it. But it's not practical for most people. They're just agitated by that. So people have to stay in their occupation and do their duties and perform devotion service and purify that. But at the end of life, everybody's meant to renounce. Especially we see about Parikshit Maharaj and all this. But Vanaprastha is there, sannyas is there. Everybody's meant to eventually renounce that, his material situation. So, yeah, that example is there by the pure devotees of the Lord. And we follow that if one is in occupation already, then he can continue that, he may continue that occupation with guidance from devotees. But in the case of Kumaras, they just gave it up. They were like, forget this. And Brahma was fried out. But but it was just like, this was the higher goal of life. They understood that and they were able to give it up completely. And it didn't really make so much of a difference. And Brahma just created more. And there's all those, what's their names? The Haryashvas. And then Narada Muni, he is the greatest bhakta leader of all time. He created 10,000 bhaktas at once. It's like, dang. So we can worship him if we want to make devotees. So he instantly just told them, forget it all. And they all gave it, and then Brahma was fried out again. He's like, why are you doing that? And then he did it again. So it's an eternal thing that's gone on eternally, to give up devotion. But, give up duty or whatever, so-called duty. Even we had so much duties to our parents and things like that. They were fried out. But we gave it up in order to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in order to show renunciation also. Not in our case, we were suffering like anything, but these great devotees, they're showing, hey, one should renounce. When one has the opportunity, he gets the opportunity and the spiritual master gives him the opportunity, let it go. Don't be attached to these things. Especially a position like a young men like these Haryashvas and the Kumaras. Give it up, They have that opportunity, why not? Why become attached? That's what they say. The Haryashvas says, why become attached? Why, I can become free of all these instances. Why I have to go through attachment and all this and then try to renounce later in my life? I can just let it go, and they're able to do that, then okay. So yeah, there's the exhibition of these great devotees who are doing this, and we can follow that. We follow that because we have so much material desires. So a level of, Prabhupada says in the beginning of the Bhagavatam, there's always has to be a level of sense gratification. Always. But for the pure devotee, that's not there. But for those who are conditioned, there's always there. Even like within the realm of prasadam, that's there too, eating nice prasadam. But a pure devotee, you see like Guru Maharaj eats the nastiest things I've ever eaten in my life. It's like, oh my God, how's this person living? So one devotee made this nasty chutney one day. He made this, if he just grinded up straight coriander and Guru Maharaj took it. I was like, oh my God. And I ate it after. It tastes like the most horrible thing I've ever eaten in my life. Well, I don't know if everybody got that right, that little laddu that, what is Prabhu's name? Tadvivid Prabhu, he gave those little laddus to us when Guru Maharaj was leaving. It was like really nasty. I thought it was like a sweet ball, and he ate it and it felt like you were going to like die or something. It was really nasty. I was singing and it was like my mouth, I was like, what the hell is this? But that's what he eats. I'm like, oh my God, this is ridiculous. Because there's no, like, at that point of devotional service, it's like, okay, what's needed for the body, I'll do, but then no more than that. And it's a tough platform to come to, my God. I would be completely mental if I did that. I mean, you did it for some time, remember that? You remember your crazy diet you were on? Yeah, you go completely mental. And so, any other questions? I've got 4 minutes. Mataji's?
On Mother Kamalini's behalf, she wanted me to let you know that she has a cold. So she can't. She's losing her voice. Okay. She lost it.
You can't go out on book distribution now.
She said, I know. She She's very disappointed.
We have some cufflets, maybe we can give you. We'll see. I think we might have something. Cantils, yes, please get that for her.
And Mahabhoga made her some special tea.
Okay, all right.
One thing, the question that was just raised, it reminded me of, and I probably will get the names mixed up. I'm not good with pastime remembrance, but basically Narada Muni, was it Dhruva Maharaj who he was trying to tell him to completely abandon your duties and just fully take to Krishna consciousness? But then Lord Brahma.
Well, no, Narada Muni was telling.
Who was he telling?
He was telling Dhruva Maharaj to go back home.
Yeah.
He didn't tell him to give up.
Yeah,
everything.
you're
Narada
right.
Muni was like, "What are you doing? You're a little boy. Go back home and play with your friends."
No, there was somebody else then. It was there we go. The sons of Daksha? Yeah? Okay. 2 times. Yeah, this is what the lady was saying.
The
But basically,
Haryashvas and then there's, yeah.
but yeah, and then was it Lord Brahma or Lord Vishnu who appeared and personally told them that they have to continue with their duties? I think it's a different pastime that I'm thinking of.
You're
though.
talking about.
This is
Maybe,
like in the 5th canto.
Are you talking about the
Priyavata.
Priyavrata is there? I think those devotees, they go underwater and they meditate for some time and they come out.
Traitors, yeah.
Prachetas, yeah. I think it's the prachetas that were told to continue their duty.
Yeah, even though Narada Muni was trying to get them to fully take to devotional service, but they were told they can stay in their position.
Yeah,
I just thought that was-
and they're renounced at their heart also.
Yeah,
And when it comes that time, they're immediately ready to go. Just like Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita is telling Arjuna, don't renounce. Come, go and fight. So one has to understand, like, through a spiritual master also, like what to be done. And in this case, Narada Muni was telling him that the Supreme Personality of Godhead came.
Yeah.
So depends on the situation. Anything else? Any other questions? No? Okay. All right. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.